shelter for them. And you will see that today we have a lot of community organizations that say, I'm Mariah, buy out your data. When they got that, I keep again, and the government provide data for the most vulnerable people who don't have data. It got to palliative, it got to cash transfers. How many of you are aware of the cash transfer and how I program? And you have ever benefited from that 20,000? You have benefited. Okay, well. International program. Okay, so we have one beneficiary of Get Power here. Who are the person benefited from Get Power programs? Okay, the person. Okay, so I also a beneficiary. What program is that? Okay. So you see, these are programs that government design and policies to ensure that the most vulnerable people in our communities have access to clean water and sanitation, that the most vulnerable in our communities have access to food. We're seeing that Kaduna State is multi-dimensionally poor. We have 10 million people in the state, but 8 million are multi-dimensionally poor. It includes children, persons with disabilities, youth. We know people in the IDP camps today, and I think I have a reality picture to share with you now about a flooding that happened in the local government area. I'm not sure if you share that picture, please, for us to see, where communities, real life experience and anything happening in that place. Communities have been calling on the government, and it's because they do not know what to do. They do not know. Last year, a school child died as a result. That was the only thing that followed, and he died as a result of that. We have houses around the community. These communities are like in Kamachi, Malami, in Kassan, something is coming. But what can they do? They do not have those frameworks. There are no frameworks in place. And if not even now, that partners the world is evolving and attention is becoming globally around climate change. A lot of people think climate change is none of people's problems. So, yeah, this is a community. Do anyone know what can you this is someone's group. Can you see a very mattress? Can you see? Hello? I want this to be engaging because we are talking about us. We are talking about the community. Do anyone know the person?
Garuruka ba za ku kuwa ya a ƙarshe an nima an samu gawa na ya magawa jirgin su wuce. Since from that time, the truth is that people in the rural areas of today don't believe in anything climate change. Amma da abun kamar wani zurfai da mutane sun yi Allah yana wani shi mutane. But no matter what you tell people in the rural area that this is the effect of climate change, they don't take stand. In fact, the elderly people will say since they were born, they've never experienced something like this in that particular area. Over 400 households they are destroyed. But the truth about it is that from that axis, we only hear of social protection programs. We don't know if December exists for layman or any other body. I am also a victim from that community. Idan na wuce gaba daya, da aka zo August, domin masara da ce da shinkafa. Ruwan August kuma ya wance gonar gaba daya. Nawa da sauki don ina da kirki. But there are people and orphans whom this affects. All day, life has become a mystery to them. These children lost their lives. However, acting, they went to school when it was about to rain. The school closed immediately. But before they could run back home, there was climate free. It's just like to whatever the climate regime. Those three on their way coming back from school of their lives. Children from the same family, who are from the same father, while the other one was also the same family. So this is what is happening in the rural areas. If not because of the rain, the drought has already taken a lot of people into another situation. For the past 2 weeks, we did not experience rain, and almost everything we planted, in fact, it is something else. So issue of climate change, the reality is in the rural areas. And up to date, people are still cutting trees. People are still cutting trees. If you are in Kaduna State, you will believe me that there is no life like Kaduna or Procyon. And it is like the normal thing now. It is like the only business left for the people in the rural area. Since they cannot go far into the bush to go and farm. So the people, they are not a livelihood. Something needs to be done with that immediate effect. If not, just a lot of life will go because of this climate change. The trauma people are passing through is getting out of attention.
Yes. The city will be engaging other suspect issues on this. I think it is important that all of us that are gathered here, we should know that this is why we are here. And most of these challenges is because we lack this kind of gathering. So as far as we are concerned, by the end of this sitting today, God's willing, will be having the kind of messages after maybe a month or 2 months as we keep tracking activities as far as climate issues are concerned in these local communities. We have government representatives, we have all stakeholders that are supposed to respond to this kind of issue, and I'm sure that particular local government that you mentioned action will be taken on them and other local government by the end of this. So this we should open our mind so that we can contribute immensely, so that at the end of the day we will always, a document which I think we are applicable to what as it is concerned.
Please be introduced to yourself, whoever.
Good morning, all. My name is Procyon social protection. I want to add what my Oga says, which is really a community that are contributing this effect of climate change in societies. There's no doubt on that. As I received invitation for this engagement, yesterday I visited a community in the Sabbath local government. I had the pictures, and I said I want to do that in case to be here. The activity here, if you see the jungle they are putting, even if you are passing to the road, the kind of smell, and there are communities around that places. It was such aspect. So it is not like that it is elected to be a source of living information. Whether it's happening with the people that are doing the used to setting him, there are children that are engaging themselves trying to cross the border and send it to the farms. So whosoever do that activity, they will be the owner of the place. Even the military from the jailhouse, when they carry their guns. Another sadness is that this trailer drivers, when they come with their spare parts or used tires, they need to come to and attach to our sites. The people will buy the tire, they will pour it to that place and own the tire, remove the wires. If you look at the ground, already whatsoever route around that area, I no, within 1 or 2 years, there must be a collapse. And those drones, I believe, with this training, it will cause a problem on health. Because the people around that area solely rely on water or raw water. And definitely their water is going to be contaminated. So I'm happy the SEMA is here, the Minister of Environment is here. We have to do something. And I know not only that area, all the 23 local government have this kind of disease. So the Minister of Local Government is here, the local government councils has to be advised on what to do on this climate change shock. Thank you. Yes. Shall we, by our expect, as we are going to second and see.
Good morning, everyone. I stand on the existing protocol. I think from what you all have said here, I'm thinking that there is a need to sensitize and educate the communities of either reducing carbon trees or when you cut one, plant two. You sensitize them, educate them to have a designated place for their waste water. Now, rainy season, even some of us that are here, we don't have a designated place whether in our homes or around our waste. We just wait when rain starts, pack all your waste, look for any drainage, put it there. We now find out that many drainages are blocked because of our waste. We refuse to design a place that we can place our waste there, and then after some time, they are already overload. Rainy season now is our drainages that are our designated place for our waste. So every drainage now is blocked. There was a day I left office a little bit late, and there was rain, so I had to stay somewhere. As I was going home, all the water couldn't find, space in the drainage to run. All the water was just on the middle of the tunnel. I was not holding my head. I was just saying, what? Even in tears. So maybe we should start thinking of how to sensitize ourselves, sensitize the communities of what to do. We should have a behavioral change concerning our environment, our homes. I think that one will help much. Not that every year when there's flow, when there's something, they're looking for labor and SEMA to bring materials, to bring rice, to bring all this money will not stop it. And it will reach a time that one day government will not have money for materials. How many years will government be providing materials and food and whatever? Let's change our behavior. All of us that are here, let's start from us. So that when we are going to sensitize the community, the local people, they will even see that even we ourselves we are cheap, then they will copy from us. Because most of this flooding and whatever is behavior. We don't have designated place for our waste because we do anyhow to cross water when it's rainy season, we pack every waste and pour it on the drainage, and then the drainage is blocked. So when rain is coming, it doesn't have anywhere to go, it will enter us. Let's sensitize ourselves, let's go and sensitize the community so that all these things will reduce. Then we will not be putting our eyes on government, don't know what it's not to say. How many donkey years the government be buying and costing us? Let's change our behavior. I'm going to educate them to change their behavior. Thank you very much.
Your thoughts. And I'm very, very happy that we have proposed. That's the essence, not the main topic. So, like we have always saying, we've had some reality, we have seen, and current how this climate change is affecting everyone. Cutting down trees, boiling well, throwing plastics everywhere. when we developed the zero draft, we had a consultation. Some of you could remember when we keep disturbing you to join our online sessions, when we keep sending you invitations to join our meeting, organic material from the Ministry of Local Government, go to a testament of how we have been engaging and how we have been involving all of them here. This is what the document looks like. I will take it us through it for what environmental impact assessment. These are legal policy documents that we have looked at to align this framework with both at the national and local level. National and legacy policy documents here. I've already mentioned that UNICEF and others. If you go to the documents, you will see all this. How can climate change shocks addressed through social protection policies? We already have a policy in Kaduna. You can see the SSA investment and SASGs. Recently, around February, January, we reviewed state social protection policy and ensure that it incorporates climate information as well. Then, additionally, these are the health challenges, education challenges we have identified, even in agriculture, then environment and social development as well. This is the implications. We have looked at the implications of climate on impact and vulnerable gender populations, because everything we have to do there should be consideration of gender and social vulnerability. Resilience and adaptation gaps. We have also looked at engaging the communities, how they can be engaged. And this is our infograph. The first represents the climate change impacts, then how it's increasing vulnerability in social system. It looks at the environment, the agriculture, the health and education. Then shock responsive social protection interventions. We said behavioral milestone changes. What? That if we see it, we know that this framework is working. Then mitigating vulnerabilities. Then community engagement is what is going to ensure that we mitigate this impact. Communication channels, we have identified them, we have mapped our stakeholders, we have looked at government strategies and engagement strategies, then expected critical outputs, which are resources, laws, regulations, community acceptance and ownership, and inclusive implementation. This is how the framework tables look like. What is community engagement? We have defined it for you to see when you look at the document. You identify, you prioritize, you conceptualize, you engage, you co-develop strategies together, you design and implement actions together with communities. And we have about 10 tables. It includes implementation, how you are going to engage with these communities. It includes how you can measure KPI, how you can measure the impact of your implementation, monitoring and evaluation as well. Community is involved. It's not moving. What's the problem? Okay, yeah. Institutionalizing permanent dialogue at policy level. Yes, we have the engagement, different engagement levels, from policy level to program level and community level, all in the framework. All these are the engagement indicators. We have, like, if we say, for example, we are doing a particular program, then what is the number of co-created dialogue we have done together? What is the number of information about climate we have received or disseminated to people? What is the number of feedback, utilization of questionnaires and other things? It's just everything that we think we're doing in terms of engagement, in terms of programs, or all other things. But I assure you that this is just so different. And on shock responsiveness, the first is to enhance community ownership and agency. The second is strengthen inclusivity and representation, widespread adoption of resilience-oriented social norms. So if communities are increasingly recognizing and take responsibility for identifying climate-related challenges, then we are achieving what we want to see in this framework. It is a change in the behavior of community. Before, and as the reporter, our J, and as young Kipishi, and as Berdashi, and as community environment. Am I somebody using this framework to engage what the state, the policy, and others? Again changes, and then it means what? We are monitoring and we are seeing the changes we want to see. If we strengthen multi-stakeholder or sectoral partnerships between government to discuss climate, all of them are here. Check, you will see. And this is the sustainability plan that we have for keeping individuals to institutionalize with the skills, because we are talking about engagement within the skills and knowledge, and then the enhancing state and local capacity to generate and manage public resources, leveraging partnerships with the private sector, prioritizing long-term investment in community engagement stakeholders. Thank you so much for your time. Okay, these are some graph pictures from the engagements we heard. Is the gallery. This is different. Hola. I hope there is no questions. Got it? Thank you. Please a round of applause once again for. So, we have seen the document, and as citizens, even those of us are government partners, right, we work with government agencies and all, what we get home every time after work, we become citizens. And this thing happens every day. So I was in the market one time, wherever that's my community, I stay in Marabani. And then some ladies were talking about the price of charcoal. That charcoal has become very expensive. Why? Because there are no more trees. The trees that they use for making charcoal have been cut. So charcoal is becoming expensive. And the conversation was talking about how do we solve this issue? How do we get more trees, right? People cut down trees every day just to make charcoal. How do we replenish our forests and ensure that we have in the next 2 years those places are not harmed, and then rain comes in and creates an erosion or desertification or whatever. So we have seen the document. We also have neighbors beside us. We just have a little moment of interaction, or if you have anything that you'd like to say about your experience. Most times when it's going around South area, I don't know if any of us has experienced the flash flood that happens around us. It's usually very crazy. The place is usually flooded by water and all that. And aside from the water, there's also this problem of stench smell that comes from there. Very bad smell. Every time I have to run and take the keke or whatever at that place, it's usually like a nightmare for me. So I would like to give like 2 people opportunity to share their experiences about direct impact of climate change, because I think there are people. I was in school one time and I was talking to somebody about climate change. I said, oh, there's nothing like climate change. People still have that idea, still have that mindset. So please share your experience.
Thank you very much. I'm Dr. Suleiman Tampo. I'm the Secretary of Kaduna National Community. My concern is that the climate issue is here, but the agencies responsible for making people aware of this issue are not really covered with it. One of it is not even the issues that we have that had been traditional, but with this issue of what is happening, you find that the things are deteriorating. Last week, during that rain, I had calls to the Millennium City. And as I was about going to the bridge, I saw a vehicle coming. Then I now realized that the site where you are going there had been overflown with water. So they have to go to the other side because of it. After the minutes, when I was coming back, I now said, let me go to the site and see what was happening. Though the area is new, but people blocked the drainages for them to have bridges to their house or their compounds. holes to the building, and that forms the water to the brain. So we have agents that should be responsible to let people not do those things. So we have those agents. They are not doing that. We also know that water will always find its cost. People are building on those places where water is finding its cost. We have authorities that are supposed not to allow those things to happen. We allow those things to happen. And it is still coming back to the government because anytime they are deployed, the government expends a lot of money. And those people are getting paid to do that, and they are not doing it. Not only that, you also find out that just as our lady has mentioned, people throw away their waste into our waters. Nobody is doing anything about that. We also find within these communities, even when communities now mobilize ourselves and we now clear the drainages, nobody parks the waste that is removed from the drainage. What happens is it goes back into the drainage. So we are having a vicious cycle. So I'm appealing to all agencies that are responsible for enforcing the government regulation with regards to building, with regards to sanitation and other things to be all agreed. So our framework should be part of now before us in a way that these agencies should really be the enforcer, or they should be enforcing what is in our regulation. So it is not just the regulation that we don't have, but enforcing what is in the regulation. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, thank you for making out. You said something about the agencies that are responsible for ensuring that people do not, block waterways, right? I also have this observation about your comment on awareness on issues like that. So I believe in Nigeria, every time we talk about awareness, I believe in Nigeria that we have a national orientation agency. Is anybody represented from the national orientation agency? Do we have people from private media organizations, Ray Power, Elita, KSMC, correct, anybody from there? Procyon is here. Okay, thank you, Sapo. Please round of applause for you. Always available. So these are engagements that we need to have beyond here. I believe in the power of media, especially the radio houses. My mom spent her entire day listening to the radio. Every time when I come back, she tells me about everything news and things that are happening, issues that concern me, who did this, who did that. So I think it's very important that we as members of the CS and we as citizens take this very personal, because subsequently it may not have effect on you right now, right? But in the long run, every one of us is going to face the impact of this climate change, right? On Saturday, my child has got birth, and I blame it on the climate change. Yes, because the weather was hot. It was supposed to be hot during rainy season, and it was extremely hot on Saturday. So we had to put on the fan, put that on fan. Unfortunately, the fan was too heavy for the socket that was used. So it just scattered everything, and my child was in victim. So please, we need to start having this engagement beyond here. In our little network, in our community, we all belong to community of youth, community of PWs, community of women, community of market women, right? Let's begin to have this conversation. How can we ensure that more people are aware about the negative impact of our daily activities that have impact on the environment and on the climate? Thank you very much. Please, someone else.
My name is Stephen Ware, and I work on that. A few days ago, we had a community engagement, and the question was thrown to us with the civil society encouraging our citizens not to be cutting trees because we talk about charcoal. Anytime we in this kind of forum talk about charcoal, trees, doctrine, and all that, the question they ask is, what alternative is government providing? What are they going to use? Imagine a civil servant that earns maybe 70,000 naira. How would that person cope with buying 1 kg of gas, 1,002 or 1,300 naira to feed his family? So I think it's beyond just that. Because for more people, I think the federal government also needs to come on the issue of climate change. Because if you know that, in years ago, when we have available kerosene around, there was plenty of charcoal use in our community. So I think it's beyond, we are just scratching the surface. We need to advocate. Civil society needs to take this issue up, and it's beyond safe. We need to change this. Or what we should be doing now, I think we should be encouraging our citizens to plan more trees, economic trees. But we are not supposed to do that. We also need to work with the agency, especially the one that is approval of buildings and what I do. So that when you are doing at least you must plan 5 or 6 trees within your estate, your compound. As a matter of fact, if you are staying in Kaduna North, you're going to approach river Kaduna side, and see you're going to Ghana, you're seeing a different weather there. Why? Because there are no trees. What is happening? So I think the agency needs to bring on board. They also need to work collectively with them to ensure that the tree planting was sure what charcoal, really charcoal. My brother, the season will not stop unless we have that place.
Thank you very much. He said he's not going to stop anytime soon. But we, as I will call us elites, right? Because the level at which we are, some of the people within the rural communities are not at that level. Can we commit to making donations to communities? 5,000 naira, let them buy trees, or you buy the trees and you take them to such communities or plant them. So you can buy the trees yourself, right? You can buy the trees yourself. You can do like a voluntary service to the community, a corporate social responsibility on your person, and take to those communities that you feel it doesn't have to be a community. Like you mentioned around areas in Ghana, we can also do that. You can plant those trees. Those need to have to start. Somebody might be watching, and say, oh, let me also replicate this activity, right? So little steps, with little steps we'll be able to make great impact. I'm seeing many hands. Okay, so if you have anything to say, please raise your hand. Let me see numbers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Is that all? After that, nobody else is going to say something. Thank you very much. Please, a round of applause for our president.
I want to just be as said, the impact of climate change is very what I'm saying is that the government and responsible agencies should show that all industries or industries that are the major contributors to climate change, they should comply with waste stream management because they are releasing greenhouse gases, raising economic without treating them. And I know that even though the government has policies which mandate all industries to have a proper use of raising such gases and everything, but they are not doing so, and these are the major causes of climate change. So these responsible agencies should ensure that these industries are complying with these policies. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Good morning. My name is Bello Soraki, and I am a member of our program. My contributions are this. If
we sit down here and put blame on the entire citizens or some of the citizens. Believe me, this climate change is past the corrosion and is going to kill more of us. Citizens are like animals that needed to be taken. If you use in school, they say we use carrot and stick to train children. If the government themselves are not being sincere about this climate change, if we are waiting for money to come and then we channel it into our various projects, this issue of climate change is bigger than what we are seeing. If we say citizens are dumping refuse in drainages, where are the drainages? People have money to build houses, but they don't have money to construct drainages. Kasuda Mali. Kasuda can point out anywhere how the building is behind or they are building erecting structures. Kasuda can identify the place. It is not to come and cancel an erection that is not properly built. But one thing, another thing is for you to ensure that the right thing is done before granting then you go ahead. Somebody is building on building because he claims that that land belongs to him by was given to him by his father and he bought the place. And then his sons were obstructing the drainages and he come as a say remove. 2 days later I see upstairs has been built there. Most of the shops that during the Rufai government removed today they are now back. And most of them are constructing drainages. Talking about charcoal, I remember in 2010 or 11 also, when the prices of kerosene began to rise. Let us not lie to ourselves here. The most cheapest energy today is charcoal. One piece now is around 50 naira to 100 naira. So people are not going there. And the people who use energy most are the grassroots. So the cheapest energy they can lay their hands on the charcoal. Then there is this adage that says, let's say it in a good English. Let's say if you say make the goat no womanize. Tell the she goat now make it wear a pants. So if you say we don't use charcoal, you told us during President that we should drop the issue of kerosene and go for gas. Then gas was very cheap, 150 naira per kg. A cylinder was sold around 1,000 or 1,500 naira. A cylinder, 658 cylinders. Then you can refill gases or gas without any space. So then, when people drop kerosene, their kerosene, and then demand for gas became on the high side, the gas is now on the high side. So the little they could do is to go back to charcoal. Then if you say people do not go to the forest because what happened to forest gas? Is it to protect people from hunting alone or from deforestation? These are my questions. Also, burning of tire that you say, many of our children today, we are here to talk. They were not serious. So let us be engaging. Let all of us sitting down here can go home and have something. But believe me, we should not do what we are expected to do in order to curb this situation. You know it and know it, but the problem is beyond what you are seeing today. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for that wonderful contribution. But charcoal, we are asking for an alternative to charcoal use, and then gas is very expensive, like you said. And there's a trend of stealing of gas cylinders right now. I have some colleagues who lost her cylinder like twice this year already. They jump over the fence and then they take it. So these issues are real, they are happening every day. So what can we do? How can other government agencies, you mentioned Kasuga, Kasuga can locate any house, wherever the house is, even if it's underground, we will locate that house. We also have another environmental protection agency. How can they come in to ensure that all of this littering that we have in our buildings, how can we ensure that it is stopped? Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Who is our third person? In case you need to repeat yourself, the rest is for the middle is straight down, for the middle you take the turn, the right turn, you find the restroom there. Third person is we will be running off shortly, so please, as much as we can, let's keep it short and straight to the point. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. My name is Sonia. I am from Kaduna Department of Mechanical Secretariat. I would like to start with government question. How many of us use a charcoal or firewood before coming here? I believe quite a number of us have used this firewood we are talking about. Have used the charcoal we are talking about. So I love the fact that this is highly citizens forum where we have quite a number of us being represented here. And I think the thing starts with us. Now we need to look at what are we doing? It's not what are they doing, because it's not they, it's us. And we're talking about, I see the perspective around the government's contribution to engage in mitigating actions and also adaptation actions. When we look at this climate impact, not just affecting the communities, but affecting government. It affects, inaction affects the taxation of the state, which we know. And also, if the government will be able to look at the climate financing aspect, budgeting aspect, to put in sustainable measures to see how we can mitigate and adapt to the climate system, I think we have a great step to move forward, because without the cost benefit analysis system, and it being adopted, you can measure the actions and inactions around climate change. And when you measure out of that, you'll be able to measure the sustainable, because we have adaptation measures already in place and they may not be working as well. So can we shift the work? And then I think I love the fact that we're having this student framework here, because the way it affects us is different. When we capture that particular aspect of the impact of inaction and action to the budget process, I think we'll have a great opportunity to have both interests of the government and also the citizens being put in place, because we all are being affected by the cause of climate change within our communities and society as such. Thank you.
Thank you very much. For our listeners, please, I know we're taking those of all of the policies and science. Please, I beg your pardon. We are also planning for tea break. While we're having this conversation, tea break will be set up soon. And then after tea break, we'll have the dissemination session, then we will please. So we're not taking much of our time. Thank you very much, please.
Thank you very much for this opportunity. My name is George Angelos from Innovation Hub. I would like to draw attention to something which is in all that we are doing. We want us to focus on sustainable measures in tackling climate problems, because no matter what we do, if we are not doing it to be sustainable, within a few years it will all collapse, right? And then someone made mention of how many people, especially in the rural areas, are not sensitized They don't have the knowledge of climate change and its effects, right? I want to draw attention also to a measure or a sector that is kind of neglected in a way. If we want to reach, there are easier ways to reach out to rural areas. So, for example, we are leaving out the creative sector aside when it comes to sensitization. For example, now, when we have community engagement and we have creatives like actors, music artists, painters, who will be able to tell stories of those things that are happening and their causes, we will be able to, pass this information, sensitize these people in a way it will be effective enough to help them change, have societal behavioral change. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for mentioning that. And from what I know about you, you are a creative, right?
Yes.
You are either a musician or a
I am a
painter.
musician and
So are we can help us come up with kind of music or something that be shared across
yes, I mentioned that intentionally because we would help fuel this as support sponsorship. So, like I said, we have other creatives that I've seen, I've also engaged with that are doing the same thing, but with extra, push, a lot will be able to be done. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. George. How many of us remember the popular song?
So, good afternoon. My name is Procyon. The government just was presented. We not allow people like us to look at it and make a critical observation from the government in order to make corrective intervention for it. And secondly, about the climate change. Climate change, whether we like it or not, is a global issue. And it's environmental related challenges. And as far as Nigeria is concerned, we are not ready to do anything. We are not ready to do anything about climate change. This type of government, you know that Nigeria will have so many policies concerning the climate. But the main challenge is the implementation of those policies. Now, the issue of this Japan issue is a very serious issue that Nigeria should not take it for granted. Because in the next 5 years, I don't think there will be any more. So Nigeria government should look at or should do a cost-benefit analysis on the disruption of forest on the other side, and also the climate change on this side, and also what should we do on the other side against that challenges. That the cost, we can now be able to know what and what not. Like somebody said earlier, the cost of gas is affordable to common Nigerians. And as at that time, the number of households that are using gas has increased at least 12%. But at the price of gas escalating, people have no option to go out to home. So what the government do in order to reduce the cost of gas in order to destroy the nature? So, and what is the cost, between the provision or between the bringing down of gas price and also the illustration of our product and the so the government is at that. And also there are other stakeholders, the environmental organizations, they are not doing their work. Implementing their policies. And this road will have the law yes, we have the tree, we have anticipating the we have the forest gas, all these things. And the government should bring them down in order to achieve
round of applause.
I support that requires my attention at the office. But I think before leaving, I want to say one or two things. First, I want us to understand, by my own definition anyways, I would say the effect of climate that we are deliberating upon today, for me, I want to define it as nature's reaction to human actions. I don't know if you understand that very well. It is nature's reaction to human action. So it means we have to come back to discuss attitude. We have to come back to discuss us. A lot has been said about government. That Modestia, there is no state in Nigeria that is not overwhelmed with issues. There is no state. And total dependence on government will lead us nowhere, whether we like it or not. Total dependence on government will lead us nowhere. We've been talking around charcoal as if that's the only issue we have. Put charcoal aside. Somebody has discussed the issue of law. And somebody said, people will see that guy you are, but people will go and do that. Even if you are advised not to. What has Obasani got to do with that? Or what has Tinubu got to do with that? What has the government got to do with that? In most cases, people like to politicize trivial issues. I give you an example. In the last 2 months or 3 months, my area had by the bandits action. And instead of us to come back to ask ourselves, how do we tackle this issue? It was now, no, APC has failed. APC has failed. You keep on saying APC has failed until they finish the community. For how long should we come back and think as people and stop too much dependence on government? As a person, that water that is by your house and is getting filled up, why do you have to wait for government to come on? I think we should be thinking of solutions now because, like somebody said, the issue of climate change has come to stay. And like my brother said, but then nobody might hardly stop because of the current economy. Not only the economy in the United States, but the economy globally. Come on, man, even the crisis we're having today, the fight we're having between herders and farmers, it is as a result of climate change. Because the herders now are coming to graze on the farm before they no longer have where to graze their animals. So, please, my advice, let us come back and think of ourselves. Yes, government needs to be blamed, where it needs to be blamed. I like the example somebody gave. Kasuta will always be going to come and punch your house when you do this because you don't pay it. But nobody is going to take care of, nobody is bothered about dustbins that have been piled and have been blocking the waterways. Yes, it's an issue. But please, my honest advice, as humans, can we begin to look at ourselves as elements of change? This is my ask about prayer to each and every person here. My apologies that I'm not going to stay to the end. I have to go to the office for others. Please, in our deliberation, we should bring the time become human as humans. I want to give, I like the approach the government is taking. I hope you know there is a plan to bring back or bring a decade by the government. You know why this is happening. We are thinking that by the time we bring them back, people don't want to act and say, oh, but when you engage people now, they now know that they are now responsible. We want to do something when you see something. But going beyond that, empower people. So, are we going to think of bringing back that kind of the week for the Is it once in a month? Once in a month, right? Okay, but that has come, right? Are we thinking of bringing that back? Is it something that can work for us? Are we thinking of giving the church and the mosque? Because that's what we have to gather. For pastors to engage people in their meeting on the needs.